Hi all, Savannah here, and today we're sketching a peaceful little moment, someone catching stars under a glowing night sky. I'll be using my custom Procreate brushes throughout this video, so if you'd like to try them too, you can grab them for free using the link below in the description. Otherwise, let's get started. Alright, so the first thing that we're going to do is change that background color. So select layers, select background color, and scroll up in the palette section to find that star catching color palette that I've provided. And we're going to do this dark blue color. We're going to add a new layer, bring that below our outline layer, and go ahead and select the square light brush. We'll use this to add some color to the background. Grab that pinkish red color and let's add some color. We're going to grab some other colors here as well, just to brighten it up in the background. I want this to be very glowy. We are catching stars, so I want it to be very whimsical and serene. And we're just building up layers of colors here. You don't have to be perfect because we are going to blend this out in the end. But feel free to add other colors in if you want to do more pink-based colors, if you want to do more blue-based colors. Feel free to experiment here and add colors that you want to see. And now we're going to take that circle blend brush and we're going to select some of these colors to blend out. I'm going to blend a little of this purple color here. I'll grab some of the blue colors and just lightly blend it out until it looks how I want it to look. Now I'm starting to blend this out similar to how we did the clouds in the previous video for that moonbeam ice cream. I'm making them a little bit more rounded instead of just blending it left to right, side to side. I'm making it more rounded, a little cloud like. You could do that. You could do left to right if you want to keep it that way. Really up to you, but I'm actually going to make these look a little bit more cloud, a little bit more celestial looking. And I really like this round blend brush. I think it does a great job of making these look cloud-like, making them blend out really nicely. I do various hard presses, soft presses to make it more blended and more cloud-like. Now that we are done with our clouds, let's go ahead and add a new layer. Select this dark blue color, and let's go ahead and select the circle brush. We're going to start outlining the character that we have here in the drawing. So make sure that outline layer is shown so that you can follow the outline. You can make your own if you want, but if you want to follow the outline, make sure it's shown. And then we're just going to go ahead and trace the outline of the character and fill it in. to also do the outline of the net, I am going to make the brush size a little bit smaller for this so it's not so wide. And we're just going to trace same thing like we did with this character here. We're going to trace the outline. I'm going to do this all on that same layer as the person, and we'll add some highlights back in. Now you could do any touch-ups here. I'm adding a little bit of feet to the front here just to make it look a little bit more like a person is standing there. Feel free to mess around with the shape until you get to what you like. And we're going to add a new layer underneath. We're going to do that circle blend brush, and we're going to add a shadow for the character here as well. Now that we have that complete, let's go ahead and add a new layer. We're going to create the stars now. So if you want, you can do the light yellow. I ended up going for a little bit more of an orange color for this, but feel free to use any yellow or orange color. We're going to use that circle brush, and we're going to start adding in stars to the sky. And feel free to do as many or as few as you like. I like there to be quite a few stars, so I'm going to add a little bit more than what I have in my outline. But again, you do what you would like to do for this section. Now I'm going to add stars inside the net here. One thing that you could do if you wanted, I didn't do it for this, you could do two different layers for the net. So if you want it to look like the stars are inside the net, you'd have one layer would be the upper part of the net, the part that is closest to your view, and then you have another layer below that that would be the back side of the net. I'm just going in here and adding stars. I'm making them a little bit smaller and just kind of going around, working around that net. You could do it this way as well if you want, or you could do the two different layers. Now I think I have enough stars, so I'm going to duplicate that layer. I'm going to select that bottom layer. We're going to do a Gaussian blur on it to give it more of that glowy look. I always use around 7%. You can go higher, you can go lower. It's up to you, but 7 is usually a good number for me. The other thing I'm going to do is make the top layer a little bit brighter to make it look more like stars. So I clicked onto that layer, I clicked on hue, saturation, and brightness, and I just adjusted those levels until I like what it looked like. And then I just duplicated that layer again, and I'm doing a Gaussian blur on it to give it more glow. So we have that orangey glow underneath, we have a little bit more yellow, and then we have the stark yellow from the original layer. So what I'm doing here is adding a new layer. I'm going to make it an overlay because that's going to make it a little bit glowy. And it's a new layer right on top of our character. I did a clippy mask. And so what that clippy mask does is if you draw on that, it's going to confine it to the shape that is below. So in this case, the character. Pros to that is that for this, for instance, I did an overlay. And so that's going to make that a little bit brighter. If I drew directly on that original file or that original layer with the character, and did the overlay, it would change that dark blue color, which I don't want. So I'm just going in here, I'm using my circle blend brush. I'm adding some glowy highlights to where the stars are. And I'm also adding some glow to the character as well, just around the edge here. Now I'm going to change the overlay here. It's not as glowy as I would like, so I'm just messing around. There's a bunch of different options you can do here. I'm just going to find one that looks good to me. Maybe it's a soft light, maybe it's a lighter color. I think I like the lighter color. It brings in more of that star color that I use, but it's still not so stark. And then we can turn down the opacity on it. You can do a little bit of a Gaussian blur on it. I feel like with the opacity, it was a little bit too high, and so I just brought that down a little bit. And then I'm going to blend this out a little bit more. now I just keep kind of going around until I'm building out the image of what I want this character to look like. You don't have to be as picky as I am here, but this is just me trying to blend it out to where I like it. And there's our star catching net scene. Thank you so much for sketching with me today. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to give it a like, subscribe to the channel, and leave a comment. I'd love to hear what you think or see your version using hashtag French Savvy Sketches. See you in the next one.